So I here I am, an 18-year-old kid, uh, you know, going on the air on a national network out of nowhere. It's just it felt natural. It felt so natural, though. It just felt like this is something I need to do. And then to get my own show on the heavy metal network at night. Ozzy was going to tape a bunch of shows. All of a sudden, they decided, they're like, well, why don't you just do one show on the air now? You're here, might as well. And for some reason they let me do it. It's just being able to voice, and I've voiced other things too. That the English audio for museum tours around the world, in several countries. The Sunshine Observatory in Tokyo, Japan. It's I'm the English-speaking voice for that, and it's the tallest observation tower, I believe, in Tokyo. And to get someone confident is probably the biggest hurdle I'll have in getting somebody to that next level.
Mike, hi, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
I'm good. I am in a rainy evening in Germany, so I'm waiting for the spring to see the sun again. How are you?
Same here. We're in Chicago. We're expecting a lot of snow coming in the next 2 days, so we're used to it, though.
I kindly prefer snow than rain, to be honest, because I have to say Germany kind of became the new UK in the meantime, because it's raining more than I would like to.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, for sure.
Is it cold in Chicago at the moment?
It's up and down. Yeah, it's pretty cold. It's minus, I don't know, Celsius. It's below zero for sure.
Okay.
Because 32 Fahrenheit is 0 Celsius, and it's about
Exactly.
20 Fahrenheit. So that's about 10 below, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And getting much colder in the next few days.
Okay. So, fingers crossed then, Mike.
Yes.
I would like to say a few words. In a world where everyone thinks that voice acting is a quick side hustle that everyone can do it, Mike has been mastering this craft for, I don't want to say 37 years, because it sounds like you've done it a long, but I would say a lot of time, right?
I can say 38 now.
Exactly, I can say 38. Mike is doing voice acting since a lot of time, and he's doing it on the professional level as a radio career behind it. And he made me the pleasure to be today my guest in the show, which I have to say thank you again, Mike. I would like to start by sharing on what you're working at the moment, because I think that's always a cool thing to start with.
What I'm working on right now, I work on scripts every day. So the fun stuff I've been working on the past, things that have been released that I can talk about. I have 2 pinball games slot machine games coming out that I did the voice for pretty soon. And I did some samples for a dubstep song, believe it or not. And
nice.
That just came out. And it's already got over 1,000 views. So that's on SoundCloud, listens on SoundCloud. So that's a good start in a few days.
Absolutely. How does a typical workday look for you, Mike?
I open my email. I get a big smile on my face because I see scripts waiting for me, and I can't wait to see what's on there. It could be anything. It could be church announcements all the way up to a game and a song, and it's everything. It's always different every day. It could be just about a little bit of everything.
Well, I love your positivity. I have to start by saying this. I love your positivity. It's absolutely everything what's coming in is work. So it's amazing. Mike, how you are doing this since 38 years. I see the positivity in your face. I see it in your voice. How would you describe this journey in this industry in the last 38 years?
I started so long ago. I mean, I started when they were still reel-to-reel tapes and audio cassettes and things like that. So, yeah, it's a completely different journey then than it was now. I started calling as a 17-year-old kid going to college. I was calling video production companies and television companies. I had no clue what I was talking about. I just wanted to do it. I just started doing it. And one guy by the name of Morris Rose took a chance on me, and he worked for a cable television place in Dallas, Texas, where I was living at the time. And he showed me everything. It was so patient with me, and he told me how to inflect my voice and how to do different styles. And it was my first work ever, and also paid work, and great experience. I still have those commercials today. I still have the audio and the video. And from there, that was it. I was hooked. I had to do this. And I also had a love for being on the radio. I wanted to be on the radio, which was a big goal. So I had this guitar. I couldn't play it all, and I was going to sell it. And I called this DJ on the air, and I had called him a couple of times, and I called him, and I said he was looking for a guitar. I said, I'll sell you mine. I mean, it's not anything good. It's just a starter guitar. And then we met up, and I said, what does it take to get into radio? And he's like, well, the guy down the hall in the top 40 hit station is hiring a producer. Maybe you should try out for that. No idea what he was talking about. I just went in there to the guy, and I said, okay, I'm your guy. And he's like, well, what do you mean I'm your guy? I've got all these people applying. He goes, he goes, you're, how old are you? I go, 17. I go, look, I'll work for you for free for a week. If you like me, great. If you don't, just hire somebody else and just teach me, because I want to learn. And he's like, okay. So I became the producer of a national top 40 morning show from just walking in and saying, I'm the guy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I want to stop you a bit there.
Yeah.
I would like to. So you are born and raised in Chicago.
Yes.
That's a good start. Take us to 87. So radio was the goal, as I understood until now. So you say, okay, radio was something that you always wanted to do.
Yes, radio was something I always wanted to do, and the voice acting part was just another thing that I thought of that I could do. I thought, I listened to in the movie theater when they do those dramatic trailers, and I thought, I want to do that. But it all kind of came together at once. But the radio thing, it just happened. The voice work stuff started happening in 1987, and in 1988, the radio thing started happening.
Mm-hmm.
So it all came together at once, really, pretty much in 1 year.
I do remember. So I have to say something. Born and raised in Romania. The only thing that we have had in the communist time I remember as a kid, I was listening with my grandpa the radio, and we were listening to. I don't know if you had something like this in US, and I don't know if it's something special from Eastern Europe, but there was something which is called radio theater. So it was only audio theater which was happening at the radio. So they were actually doing the plays that you normally see on a Broadway show, but only with audio at the radio. So they are doing all kind of side effects. That was fascinating for me, because that was opening the world at the moment. I had no television to see, and that's why that was my eye-opening to the world. Was that something that you have known from your childhood as well?
I heard of it. I know that they used to play something called, and they still do today, old time radio, where they did a similar thing, where they did plays and dramas and mysteries and all different kinds of radio theater. And I heard that as a kid on this local news station at night. They would play that late at nights, and sometimes when we would drive home from a long trip, it would be on right after the news at like 11 p.m. And I was listening, going, wow, that's like an actual play or a show on the radio. And I was like, that's so neat, and it's got these different voices. It's like watching a movie, but without the video. They're so cool. Okay, I like that. That's very cool. So I definitely can relate to that.
So you end up doing that first commercial in Dallas. So when you say, okay, that someone really gave you the confidence to say, okay, come in, I will show you how to do it. What was going through your mind while doing it?
I think it was so cool to just do it. Even if I'll be honest with you, even if I had only done that with a couple of commercials with him and never did anything else, it would have been still an amazing, fun experience. And I would have been able to say, yeah, a long time ago, I did some commercials as a kid. That it was just so much fun. And I loved the fact that he was patient with me, and he learned, and he was a genius. He wrote all his own music for the commercials. I mean, he was really, really talented, and he was patient and said, okay, Mike, let's try it like this. And I learned to do an in-studio session right away. I mean, the first, there was no school, there was nothing like that. I just went right in. And it's just the fact that he was able to be patient with me was so important for me. And I was thrilled. I thought, I'm getting paid to do this. This is amazing. I can do this forever. And here I am all these years later doing this.
So I have to say, for the kids watching this, there was no YouTube back then. There was no
No
place.
internet. Nope.
Nobody was able to tell you how to do it or how to do it. There was no tutorials. There was
Nope.
nothing.
No.
Did you ever had something like I don't know, a manual or like a book that can inspire, or was only this guy that drives the passion in you?
It was within myself. I wanted to do it, and he kind of found, helped me find my voice, both inner and outer, which, the outer voice was just the training technical part, and the inner voice was just my confidence. And he taught me that, yeah, you definitely can do this. I mean, he didn't even have to say the words. He just said, okay, let's go record. He didn't go, well, let's try and practice a few times. He just went right in and said, let's record. Okay. and just diving in was all I needed to get in. And yeah, I didn't learn anything. I was actually taking broadcasting in college at the time, broadcasting classes. And funny that you say this. When I first got we'll get into this in a little bit later. But when I got my first full-time radio job, I went to my counselor in college, and he said, and I asked him for advice. I said, what do I do? And he goes, you're going to school to get where you're already at. You don't need to be here, which will never happen today. He told me, just go for it. Go and get that job and stop talking to me and don't lose that job. Okay. I wish I remembered his name, but he was the best. And that was the best advice I've ever had in my life for career-wise. I mean, amazing.
Absolutely. 100%. And I think the most important, because you just said, and he just pressed record, I think important to say it was so expensive to do that press record instead of testing before. And so so he must have trusted you really from the first one. I have to say, really nice, really nice. Gave you the confidence.
He did. Yeah.
How did the family react when you said, okay, I want to do this?
Well, in the beginning, the voice acting thing was not. It was just a few things here and there, so it wasn't like a full-time job. I was still going to college, so they thought, well, once you get your degree, then you can get to work. When I got my radio thing going, it was still part-time, so it wasn't full-time. It was good money, not great money. So they thought, well, if you do this and go to college and then you graduate, it'll be nice, and then you can get a career and you'll have a business management career to fall back on, because this probably, it's not a career, a long-term career. And in the beginning, the part-time thing was nice, and when I told them I got full-time, they didn't believe that it paid anything. They thought, well, it's just one of those hobby things that, And then I showed them a paycheck stub. I said, no, this is a real national network and a real job. And they're like, oh, well, okay, we believe you, and great. I mean, a real company with benefits and paid vacation and all that, So yeah, it was a real job.
That's really cool. It's cool that they were supportive, for sure. There was you phased it in because they didn't thought from the beginning, okay, he's not going to school, he's not going to college anymore. But I think it's still the reaction was really good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You started by a radio man. I think with 19 to work on a radio, it must have been a dream. A dream. I'm talking from the perspective of a guy who always had this dream to work in a radio but never did it. So you said, I don't even have a question. I want to ask you so many things. So you said you went in the radio and said, I'm your guy. How was the reaction?
The top 40 guy, he was the morning show. It was the morning show, by the way. And he was just like, you're the, and there's something, it's just something that it looked, I could tell on his face, something clicked that he said, all right, this guy, if nothing else, he's got all the confidence in the world. So maybe he's someone I can work with and teach him stuff, and he'll do everything, and we can go from there. And it worked. I was doing within a week or two, I was doing character voice bits with him, and I was doing all kinds of stuff for him. I was, picking music for him and doing all kinds of fun stuff. And then eventually the guy that I sold the guitar to down the hall, which was on the heavy metal format, he hired me on part-time to be on the air. And that was just a dream come true, because I was listening to that in high school a couple years before. And I was on the air part-time there. I was doing full-time producing in the morning show, and I was doing other work for the network. So I was getting 3 paychecks at once. I was doing 3 positions at once. and then all of a sudden the network, once they found out the morning guy got fired at the heavy metal station, so everybody moved up a space, and they had a full-time position open. So the network said, "You're getting these 3 paychecks. Why don't we just hire you there at the heavy metal place? You're already there, and we'll make you full-time. Is that okay with you?" "Yes, that's okay with me, of course." So I here I am, an 18-year-old kid, going on the air on a national network out of nowhere. It's just, it doesn't even, it's like, it felt natural. It felt so natural, though. It just felt like this is something I need to do.
The morning show is always the show that is dragging the whole radio behind it. So because that's the moment in which everyone's on the radio driving to or back from work. And I think in those times, even more than today, now maybe not as much as it was, but and to land on the morning show, that's
Yeah, that was the start. And then to get my own show on the heavy metal network at night, which is where most people were listening back then. They didn't listen as much in the morning at all, really. So that was just, I can't even describe it. I mean, if you want me to tell you the rest of the story and go on with that, it's fine. Unless you have more questions.
Man, I please tell me the story, because the thing that I want to stick on is the Ozzy Osbourne interview.
All right, Z-Rock and the Mike Paine Show and the Ozzy Osbourne Show. How you doing, Ozzy?
It's great to be here at Z-Rock.
All right, rock and roll. We just had the Circus of Power, Call of the Wild, a brand new track. Pat Dossey's also in here. Say hi, Pat.
Hi, baby.
All right. So, Ozzy, what are you doing around here?
I'm rehearsing for my No Rest for the Wicked tour. I'm going out on the road in about 10 days' time. Unfortunately, they still don't the kids want me to play down in San Antonio, but the authorities won't let me play there. I really want to play down in San Antonio.
Is that because of the incident a few years ago?
A long time ago.
Well, it's been a few years, about 5 years, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's really stirred up a lot of controversy. But how many times are you actually banned?
You said, as far as I
I
remember, the interview was in the 80s, right?
Yeah,
so
1988. Yeah,
88. So that means he already left Black Sabbath. Yes, he did.
Yeah. He was solo. He had been solo for 7 years around then, roughly 6-7 years.
Walk me through that day, man. Walk me through that day. Tell me how was it?
Well, I was only on the air. That was my second month on the air as a DJ. And they were going to tape, Ozzy was going to tape a bunch of shows with us and to play him later. And he was there, and, I saw him, and it was great. And I was, the new kid, so I had to be on the air while everybody else taped and did all the production, and, and you see all these important people walking by. And then all of a sudden they decided, they're like, well, why don't you just do one show on the air now? You're here, might as well. And for some reason they let me do it. And Ozzy just walks in, and we just started talking and just did a show, and out of nowhere. And there's this tiny little porthole window we used to have into the studio, a very tiny little window. And you see all these heads of important, record company executives and network executives and all these people looking in going, who is this kid that's doing this? He just naturally did it. Who is this kid? And we just had fun. I asked him all kinds of questions because I didn't have any prep time at all, but I knew I knew the music. I loved Black Sabbath, and I loved Ozzy Osbourne. So, I asked him about his film that he was in, and I asked him about photo shoots and, finding at the time his new guitar player, Zakk Wylde, and I just rolled with it. I had no preparation time at all. It was not scheduled. So I just went with it and considering I was a kid, I think it still sounds pretty good and it holds up. So, it's fun. It was fun.
I think the fact that you didn't care about you just live the moment and you say, okay, I have Ozzy here. I need to talk to him, and then I will ask him something, and that you just the big benefit that you have as a young person is that you don't overthink anything. You just do it. Let's see what's happening.
That's the way you should approach everything, is don't overthink it. Yes, you need to, analyze some things and look things over and don't go in naive, but don't overthink it, because that'll affect your performance, that'll affect your confidence and everything else. Just do it. Go for it. And do we fail? We all fail. I've failed at things a million times, but I've succeeded 10 million times. So that's okay. I don't look at the 1 million. I look at the 10 million.
I have at my kids' school, always a note that I say in the morning, which says failing means only that you tried. And I think that's a really good message for someone going into school every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when you go into something like, after you get an experience like that, which seemed like a TV show, and then to interview more and more famous people and hang out with them and have lunch with them and stuff, and watch these concerts up close and watching rehearsals, and it just didn't even seem real. It still doesn't seem real. It seems like a movie set. It was just so. It was so fun. It wasn't even work at some point. It was never work, really. I just went in there and did my thing and had fun, and
I always say that, for example, if someone would have told you, Mike, you have to interview Ozzy tomorrow, I think first of all you have destroyed your pants in the evening, and then read all possible interviews with him to see what to ask him and so on. But if you had to do it spontaneous, you just said, well, you know what, let's go.
The interesting that you say that, because during the day, that same day, I listened to an interview on the local rock station in Dallas with some guy who was supposed to be this great DJ, and it was a horrible interview. He was an awful interviewer, and I thought I could do better than that in my sleep. And sure enough, I did. Because
nice.
I mean, he was awful. I can say it. He was terrible, and Ozzy was like, you could hear it in his voice, like, you just get me out of here. It was like 5 minutes and he was gone. So, yeah.
Did you have any interesting moments that you can share with one of the, let's say, popular guys that visited the radio?
Oh, there's so many. I don't even know. I mean, there was a heavy metal convention in Los Angeles, and it was in a big hotel. And we were broadcasting live, and just anybody who's everybody in hard rock and metal would walk by, and Lemmy from Motorhead just came and sat down, and we just talked about nothing important. Just talked about Jimi Hendrix a little bit, and he was rating the women that were walking by. It's funny. It was hilarious. He didn't want to talk. He wasn't serious at all. He was just having fun. He just sat down, and then when I interviewed Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes, it was very early on in their success in their first album, which was so huge, and they just started a tour with Aerosmith, and I remember afterwards they had their own solo tour a little bit on the off dates, and they played in this club, and we broadcast it live, and just listening to them, and our jaws were on the floor going, we couldn't believe how good they were live. Amazing. I mean, some of these bands were so good. I could talk for hours about some story. Maybe someday I'll share some of these stories. But I'll give you a good story. Well, when I was my first year, right after the Ozzy Osbourne interview, pretty much, it was pretty close after that. Gene Simmons from Kiss was interviewed with someone else on the air, and then I was going to do the station IDs and record stuff with him. And we were just talking and having fun. And he gave me his business card, and he goes, you seem to know a lot about music. This was when he was doing his own record label, and Simmons Records. And he goes, if you find any good demos, why don't you send them to me, and maybe we could do something with them. And I'm like, okay. I wish I could find it. I lost it over the years, but I had Gene Simmons' business.
Wow.
And then he said, why don't you come hang out with us tonight? And I'm like, I can't, I have to work. Probably the biggest decision I regret in my life. Why did I do that?
I would have called sick. I
I couldn't because I was there and
course.
I was right there and I had to work in like an hour. It was like, I couldn't call sick when I'm standing there.
Yeah, of course. I'm just joking, but yeah. I mean, the thing is that for a young person, I think it's really hard to handle the big stars that are walking around you, because you don't really hope the greatness that they have. Like, and most of the rock stars, most of them, I cannot speak for a lot of them, but most of them are just like they are behaving normally. They are not. Yeah, of course, we can forget about the craziness from today, but let's say back then they were all on a normal level, and I think that's something that helped, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point. And I already had that mindset. I already thought, they get the same thing every day. They go on tour, they record, they get fans. Please sign this, take a picture. This is even before selfies and all that, and they get the same interview questions. How's the album doing? When are you on tour? Blah, blah, blah. Same old boring things. And I thought, I'm not going to be the same old boring interview. I'm never going to have boring interviews. So I just asked them, what's your favorite pasta sauce? Do you like, what kind of movies do you like? I mean, just offbeat, normal things. And then afterwards, when we would hang out, it wasn't a big production. We would just go to a breakfast place or, one time when Steve Vai was in town, we all went and had Indian food. I think he was vegetarian or vegan. I'm not sure at the time. I don't remember, but one of those. So he said he wanted something that, vegetarian or vegan. And we're like, Indian food. Okay. And we just talked about movies and, just life, normal life things, nothing music, just normal people talking. You don't really, a lot of record people and radio people, and Steve Vai was there. We were just talking. It was like a normal. That's the coolest part of the whole thing. All of us just really, I can't think of any exceptions where there was this, I'm too famous, get away kind of attitude. Really, And then on the other end, I didn't just go, oh my gosh, sign my autograph, sign my T-shirt.
Did you guess some of this celebrity? Did you feel it in Chicago? Like, did you have the feelings every once in a while that you are recognized on the street, or there was no picture of you, there was only the voice which is recognizable?
Well, the network, when I was living in Dallas at the time, so the radio stuff was, no, it's okay. That part of my career was in Dallas, and yeah, people actually a little bit did recognize. We had, when we flew out to the affiliate cities, the different cities we were broadcasting in, they recognized you. They would, I went to a record store where the band Testament was signing albums, and people were asking me to sign autographs, and I thought that was weird. I'm like, why do you want my autograph? I'm not in the band. And people would have me sign stuff, and it was weird, but then it was cool. I just kind of let it go and like, yeah, all right, I'll sign it. And I just wrote silly stuff on people's pictures. And
what motivated you to leave this dream life behind and to switch to program director? What?
Oh, well, it's one of those things where things changed in 1991. They let me go because they were going in a different direction. And that was right when alternative was starting to happen, and heavy metal and hard rock were kind of losing popularity fast. And I still did voice work continuously during that time. And then I did other radio shows. There's a radio network here in Chicago called Rebel Radio that I worked at a couple of years. And some other radio places around the country, in Fresno, California, Monterey, California. And when I settled here, I started doing traffic reporting for a long time, from 1999 until 2010. And one of the people in the traffic reporting place wanted me to work with his radio stations in the states, but we could do it remotely now because of the internet. So I was program director. I did the news, I did the sports, I did the ads. My wife and I had our own talk show for a while. So yeah, and she did all kinds of stuff for the radio stations as well. So that was a long run too, and that was a different fun experience. Just do it things I wanted to do. I always wanted to do a talk show, and we did it, and I always wanted to program radio stations, and I did. So, another thing off the list that I wanted to do.
So you did remote, the whole program director. You did remote.
Everything. Yeah. When you could share the screen with the programming computer, I worked at it at night. No one was on the air. It was playing programs, and it was playing music. So I could go in there and program everything for the next day. I could put all the things in there, and file sharing. It's so easy. All you need is internet, and that's it. And you can, I could, I could turn the station off if I wanted to. I could turn it on. I could, play my own playlist if I wanted to. You could do anything you want from remote, really. It was easy. It was actually rather easy, just very tedious and time consuming because you had to do so many steps to do simple things. But that's a whole other, that's just a technical process. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you could just do everything remotely.
Is your wife in the same business?
Well, she was, and it just became too much to program through radio stations. She had a full-time job. She works for an airline, and she does voice work too when she can. And then I was doing the voice work and the radio stations, and it just became all day and night. And the demands were so much, we had to stop the radio stuff. It was too much. I mean, we were literally just from wake up until sleep, nonstop work. And even in the middle of the night, we'd get calls, and it was, all the stations off the air and blah, blah, blah. And it was so demanding. I mean, we did it really well for a while, but the last year was just it became overwhelming, and the demands were too high. So we stepped aside from that. It was too much.
So you went more, as you say, that the work-life balance was not there anymore because it was too much stress from work.
Yeah, too much work, not enough life.
Exactly. How did you switch to the voice acting from radio?
Well, I just thought that voice acting was it became, starting in about 2010, really. It became more accessible to everybody with the internet getting faster and faster, more programs and more ways to submit yourself to people all over the world. And there's various websites that were starting to pop up, and that were, you could showcase your services without going to physical locations and physical studios. You didn't have to spend, $20,000 on this crazy expensive studio anymore. And that made things accessible to people. And that's part of the appeal of it. And that's still the appeal today. I don't have to leave my house to do work. I usually work late at night, local time, because not only does that help my clients from different parts of the world because it's daytime for them, but it's quiet. There's no distractions like, airplanes flying over the house and kids yelling in the street and cars honking horns and lawnmowers and all the noise of the day and telephones ringing, none of that. So that's why I like working at night.
I can understand that. You already had the voice, let's say not the voice studio, but you already had a place to do voice recording at home because you already did the radio stuff. So I think the switch was quite easy. But do you have a special place in the house that you use for voice recording?
Yeah, this room right behind me. It's an old brick house, and the acoustics are naturally great. And I don't have any soundproofing or anything crazy. It's just this house is it's like it was made to be a studio. It's a very small room, and the acoustics are amazing. All you got to do is shut the door, and you're ready to go, and that's it. It's all about the recording space, your room treatment, and a lot of people have, hardwood floors, and, you have to find a good space. And this has thick carpeting and really solid, thick brick walls, and that's all I need. We're good. And, and if there was a problem, I guess, I don't know how many, tens of thousands of projects I've done, nobody's had a problem yet. So I think it's good.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have a process with which you try to keep your voice in good condition?
Yeah, very simple. It's not anything complicated. There's a lot of ways to do it, and I'll get to that in a minute. But what I do is I take a bite of cracker. It could be a soup cracker, a soda cracker, a tea cracker, any kind of cracker. It cleans the palate, and then a drink of water. Or hot tea with lemon is good, but water's fine. You don't need anything complicated. And this is what food companies do when they survey people and do taste tests. So that works, and it clears the palate every time you take a different bite of food, it's such common sense. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do. It's what professional companies use to clean the palate. Why wouldn't I do that? So I've been doing that for years and years, and it works. And you just do obvious things like don't drink a big glass of milk or have a bunch of coffee or a bunch of chocolate or things that'll mess up your voice, and that's it. That's really it. And the only other thing I do is if I have a long day or night of talking, like hours, there's these lozenges called Vocal Zone, and they help singers and public speakers and voice actors, and it helps soothe the throat, and it's really good. Other than that, there's all kinds of things you can get on Amazon, like these secret Chinese powders that you mix it with tea or a drink, and they do these magical things. And maybe they do, but again, don't overthink it. Water is great and tea is great. The old school stuff works just fine.
I think it's much simpler than we think. I do have to laugh because I have a thing that pops into my mind talking about these Chinese magic herbs. I had a work colleague. I think he was in mid-60s, but he was really good. He was moving and stuff, and he went to the drugstore and he get a box of this magic Chinese I don't know herbs. And on the box there was an old guy like barely walking, and said that you get from that one to a really vivid person. But for him it was the other way around. He get it wrong.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that stuff. You don't know what you're getting.
Sorry, I had to say the story. Mike, how do you approach the different styles? Because I'm listening to audiobooks, I'm listening to radio. I'm a huge fan of radio. I'm playing video games, so I would say I'm covering all the things from the other side as a user that you covered as a voice actor. And you have different styles. You have different way in which you approach them. How do you switch from one to the other?
It's just a matter of always remembering that all voice acting is acting, whether it's a commercial or a video game voice or anything. It's all acting, because and even when you do testimonials and you're pretending to be a regular person, that's a big thing now. Can you talk about this dentist and pretend you're a patient? Okay, let's pretend I'm a patient. So I'll say something like, Dr. Jackson was really nice and kind, and he was so friendly, and he made me feel great and happy. And, so you leave your natural pauses in there. It sound like a regular person, and that's it. And you just approach every script and look at it and kind of go, what is this person looking for? I mean, sometimes they'll give great direction. Sometimes they'll give no direction. It's just everything in between. You just have to kind of interpret how you would make that character or voice sound. And, if you're selling, tires, you're not going to be all dramatic and sad. I mean, and if you're doing an audio drama, you're not going to, have a boring monotone voice. So it's hard to describe exactly how to do it, but pretty much I just go in there, I analyze the scripts, especially if there's multiples, which there always are multiple scripts, and I would analyze them in order of importance as far as delivery time, and then in order of difficulty. So, for example, if I had a military script where I was a soldier yelling the whole time for 10 minutes for a script, I wouldn't do that first because I was mess up my voice for the rest of the more subtle voices. So I would do the calmer voices, normal voices first, and then the most difficult voice I would do at the end. And if I needed the vocal zone lozenge, I would do that. And or a hot tea or something, and then take frequent breaks, drink lots of water or tea, and go on to the next. I mean, the most I've ever done in one day continuously, one night, is 6 hours straight, and that's just dumb. Don't do that. I've done all the wrong things, so everybody can not do what I did, and that just, no, 6 straight hours of talking is a bad idea. Even 2 is don't do that. You got to take breaks.
What was the longest audiobook that you recorded? Not in one piece, but in total, I mean.
I think it was 10 hours. Yeah, it was 10. I mean, there's some that are a lot longer than that, but 10 hours. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done from 5 minutes to 10 hours for audiobooks.
Another personal curiosity on the technique. You switch from one day to the other because you just said, okay, I'm not doing more than 2 or 3 hours in one slot because that makes no sense and it destroys my voice. You have to keep the same voice from one day to another. Uh-huh. This I find interesting because I never see the difference when I hear an audiobook. I'm pretty sure that I, for example, heard the Shogun, like the big Japanese book, who I think has 27 hours audiobook.
Yeah,
or George R.R. Martin, the Game of Thrones, which is also 39 hours or something. And you never hear passing from one day to another because it's always the same pattern. Do you listen the piece that you recorded yesterday so that you know where you have to take over from, or you just start naturally?
Yeah, if it's just a narration, it's your own voice, so you really don't have to backtrack and listen. You know what you sound like for the narration. It's pretty consistent. If it's fiction, that's the tough one. So you have to remember sometimes 8, 10, 12 different voices. So, yeah, and the narration. So what you do is, and this is an audiobook tip for everybody out there that wants to do audiobooks or audio plays, you record a piece of that voice and hold it as a separate file. So let's say I'm a vampire. Okay, the vampire has this voice, and the werewolf has that voice, and then the wizard has this voice, and then the main character's best friend has this voice. So you keep them all in separate files, and then there's sometimes it'll take 10 chapters to go back to that werewolf character. And then you're like, it's been so long, I don't even know where the last time I used this voice. So I have a file of werewolf. Okay, let's see what he sounds like. And then and then it clicks and you go, oh, all right, let's just do it like that. Mm-hmm. So okay. I have reference files when I do that, when I do fiction. That's the best way to do fiction.
I'm listening to a lot of audiobooks. I like to use the time when I'm walking and so on because I think that's it's really nice. It's good for meditation as well. And man, the worst experience. So that's why I think that voice acting, I do appreciate a lot voice actors since that moment when I have heard a book written by Stephen King, read by Stephen King.
Yeah.
And I do have all the respect for his creativity, for his books, for his way of writing. Mm-hmm. But man, no.
It's tough. That's a long time in the studio.
It was boring during he read his own book, man. He was bored. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's a lot, and that's if you have somebody editing for you. I do all my own editing too, so that's a whole other layer to it. And you listen back and you go, I don't like that line, so you got to redo it and make it sound consistent with the rest of the book. It's a challenge. Fiction audiobooks are quite a challenge, and those who do it, congratulations. That's some of the hardest acting there is out there. I mean, even if it's only a couple of characters, it's so hard to keep them consistent. And then you're going, I don't do the one character and then stop and then mix it all together later. That's so much extra editing. I do it. I go from one character and then switch to the other character voice and back to the other and then back and back and back and back. And it's tough, but I prefer doing it that way. And it's also kind of fun when it's more challenging. That's just me.
Absolutely. At the end, everyone has to find his own way. And I think that's the most important. But again, don't do that. Don't do that, Stephen King. I like your books, but don't do that.
That's good advice. Don't do that, Stephen King.
Please don't. I'm no one to tell you this, but please don't do it anymore in your life.
Yeah.
I want to go to I think one of your projects that you love the most, the D-Day project. And I would like to ask you, how did you come to this project? Let's say it like this, or maybe you can give some more details about the D-Day project, because I think that's important for everyone to know.
Yeah, there's a website I'm on called People Per Hour, and that's one of those websites where you can showcase your skills, and there's video producers and marketers and voice actors and all different types of people. And a guy by the name of Andy in France contacted me and said, would you be interested in voicing a D-Day tour, an audiovisual tour in Normandy, for Normandy, and the actual, like an actual tour in Normandy, France. And I thought, I would be honored to, not only happy to, but be honored to do this. And we worked closely together, and he gave me all the scripts, and he sold the company since then, a couple of years ago, but it's still running today with the new owner. And all the stops in between the stops, when they take the little bus to the different stops, there's a video playing of what's coming up next, and my voice is in there. And I've seen so many reviews on TripAdvisor that said the audiovisual part between the stops was almost as good as the actual stops themselves. And you just, my dad was a veteran, and he was with us, and it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, it almost chokes you up. These stories, it's so amazing. It's like, wow, and to be able to voice something like that, and it was a long project. I mean, over, on and off, probably a year and a half to get all these pieces together. And it was such a long process, and we worked together so closely on it. And the reward of these families and actually the veterans from way back then going to, back there for the first time in, how many, 60, 70 years or something. It's just amazing. I mean, and to have something like that, to voice something like that, it's just, I don't know. I'm actually speechless. It's just such an honor to do something so important, I'm just so proud to have done that. I mean, that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of to ever have voiced in my life, including radio and everything. So, yeah.
I think the the importance of that place for the whole world is unbelievable. For everyone who knows a bit of history, I think that's one of the key moments of our history, or the last 100 years. Let's see what's coming.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the history
Yes.
will not stop surprising us, for sure. But that's a key moment, and I think having the honor to do something like this, it's absolutely unbelievable. And I'm pretty sure you did an amazing job, because I see the passion in your eyes, Mike. That's I see rarely someone talking with so much passion about his work.
Yes. And just being able to voice, and I've voiced other things too that make me feel equally good, like the English audio for museum tours around the world, in several countries. The Sunshine Observatory in Tokyo, Japan, it's I'm the English-speaking voice for that, and it's the tallest observation tower, I believe, in Tokyo. So it's just cool stuff like that. It's so interesting and fascinating to do that. I mean, not only is it fun to do, but it was fascinating to read all these historical elements from so many places. I mean, not to mention that as a voice actor on the other side of that, it's also really tough if you're not a native speaker to get so many different types of, if you're doing, I did a museum for Estonia, and, I'm not Estonian, so getting those words was really tough. Japanese, same thing, China, same thing. It's tough to get these words, but, the proudest I was, out of all of the Japanese observatory, out of all that script, which was a huge amounts of scripts, I got one word wrong out of all that, which is, I'm really proud of that, because I'm not Japanese.
Absolutely. I was always, so I'm pretty honest with you. I was always trying to understand how those voice of the guided tours are recorded, but now you kind of
Yeah.
explain it for me. have you had something in Europe, like in Eastern Europe, or only Estonia was the only one that you can remember?
Estonia for sure. Um, I'm trying to remember. I did something for Armenia too. Um, I don't know if I did any. I didn't do any Western Europe. I know that. I did Eastern European.
You did though, France for the Normandy.
That's true. That does. Yeah, that's definitely counts. France, well, other than Normandy. Yeah. So, Japan, China, um, Nepal. Let's see. I'm trying to remember. There's a few other ones. I just can't think of them at the moment. But yeah.
It's so easy to get around the world these days with the internet. We have to say that every once in a while because we see we kind of often see the bad side of it and the hate that we spread between each other, but we don't see we don't talk about the benefits that we have, like this one, like that you are able to work with people that you never seen face to face, and you have a business deal, and that's it. How do you market yourself, Mike? Because as I said, it's a competitive industry, and as I said at the beginning, I think everyone thinks that it's such an easy job. Everyone can do it, and everyone is making 2 videos online and thinks, okay, I'm the next star in the voice acting. And the problem that I have recognized is they are bringing the price down because they have no experience. They don't know what the market price is. They don't know the effort behind it. They don't know how much the production effort is afterwards, and so on. And how do you market yourself in such a competitive industry to say, guys, I'm not expensive. This is the normal price of the work that I'm doing. I'm a good guy to do your job.
Yeah, a great question. I think more or less you have to be flexible, and so many people are so rigid with voice actors are so rigid with their they have this chart. Oh, I go by this, and I'm not going to say the name of it. This chart, and you have to do everything exactly like this. And you know what? There's a person with a small business that wants a voicemail recording. He doesn't have that kind of money. There's a person that runs a church and they want announcements. They don't have hundreds or thousands of dollars for a church. They don't have that money. You have to be flexible. And I just look at every project differently. I mean, yes, if it's a national television commercial for a major car manufacturer, of course, I'm not going to charge them the same as a church announcements. But that's, how I market myself is I put myself out there on a couple of websites that host your talent. And I have my own website, and I have some other projects coming up, which I'll talk about later. But the way I market myself is I have a lot of experience. I'm very versatile. I'm easy to work with. I'll do free auditions all day long. And let's talk. I'm interested in anything. I want to give somebody's dream a voice. I don't just want to, oh, here's a script and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and who cares? And, I'm not that, I don't mail it in. I don't care what it is. I don't just send it and who cares? I'm not that kind of person. So, and you could hear it in my voice. I think you really can. You can hear that I care. And I think that sets me apart from other people. And other than that, I really can't describe, what sets myself. There's tons of people that have, guys that have super deep announcer voices and all that. There's a million of them, sure. But I think what I add to it is not only my lots of experience, but the passion and the willingness to work with someone. And I get excited about this stuff. I'm ready. I mean, there's not just like, okay, sounds good. I'll be sure to do your voiceover. No problem. I'm like, yes, when can I get started? That's my attitude, not just, oh, well.
Amazing, man. Amazing. I think the fact that you love what you do, and that's so obvious. It's so obvious that you're a kind person. We have this discussion now since it's a bit of time, and it's obvious that you're a kind person. And no, you shouldn't have said that, because I already know. I said, I don't say you shouldn't have said it, but I said, even if you shouldn't have said it, I would have noticed that, because that's so easy to notice. You are a kind person, and that's something that I've noticed already. You said a lot of things, Mike, which are all correct. The thing what but it's pushing somehow always me. I realize that people, even though they offer you anything, they don't offer you anything. They have expectations, like you said. No, I have, this is my list. This is. They are rigid in everything, even though they don't offer you anything in exchange. They have expectations from you. How do you continue learning, Mike? Where do you find the passion to continue learning new stuff, new technologies? I'm pretty sure that you're not recording analog anymore.
No, no reel to reels for me.
Exactly.
No. Yeah, those are gone. No audio cassettes and burning onto a CD, and those days are over. Yeah. I just embrace the difficult part about technology is getting started. Like with anything, the setup part is the hardest. Once it's up and running, it just does all the work for you pretty much. So, whether it's a recording program or a video recording program or anything else, it's just a matter of getting that done. And then once you get it, and I tell this to all the people because I teach voice acting as well. I coach voice acting, and I teach these people that are just starting out the same thing. It's not so much about, the $1 million setup that you have to have. It's more about, yes, you have to have a decent setup and you have to have a great recording space to work in. Other than that, it's more about you than it is about, oh, well, I have, and so many people wear that, oh, I have, XYZ microphone and it has 17 buttons on the front, and I have these headphones that, only 3 rock stars in the world have ever used. That's nice, but is it going to make you a better voice actor? No. Is it going to make you any better as, audio-wise? You're not going to notice a difference. Even in Audible, which is where Amazon has, the biggest audiobook place, I believe, in the world, probably. Even Audible in their technical requirements tell you, you can use a WAV file, but use MP3 because the audio difference to almost every listener is negligible. It's not that important. It's so minor you can't tell. They're even telling you it's not that big of a deal to go overboard. There you go. Don't stress about, and again, it goes back to don't overthink it. So
absolutely.
There you go.
I think that's the motto of today's discussion. Don't overthink it. I think that fits in our culture today. I had this before starting this podcast I did a lot of research. I did a lot of research online, and everyone said you have to buy this microphone or this microphone, and no, then you need this sound mixer because the microphone is not enough. And at one moment I said, you know what, I just start, because if I listen to everything what people are writing on Reddit or everywhere, I will never start. And I say, okay, I will just do it. What do you wish that someone would have told you when you started this?
I don't know. I honestly don't think anything, because the people that taught me along the way actually gave me great advice and training. I don't think I have any regrets that I didn't listen to someone that said, oh, Mike, you should really do this instead. I really don't have any regrets, because like I said, the one counselor in college that told me to just go get that job, great advice. The guy who taught me at the television station, great training and advice. I mean, I don't think I have any regrets, honestly. I can't think of any. I mean, nice. I just follow good advice, I think is what I would say.
Nice. Really nice. Nice to say. Nice to realize that. Mike, absolutely amazing piece of advice. I usually have my set of questions that I always ask when we wrap this up. But before we get there, Mike, I would like to ask you. I know I started with this, but I would like to know a bit more details about your projects that you are working at the moment, and what are your future plans.
Okay, well, I have gotten into. I've been coaching and training, kind of unofficially since really the beginning, almost since, a couple of years into my career. And I've helped so many people along the way. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to make this official, and I'm offering coaching. So I offer voice acting coaching for everybody from who's never even looked at a microphone before, all the way up to super pros that want to get advice or get training or have a demo reel redone or something like that. And I also coach confidence. And I know that sounds simple, but I'm a confidence coach because a lot of the training and coaching I do, it's 25% technical and 75% confidence in finding your inner voice. The outer voice I can work with pretty easily. The inner voice, that's the challenge. And to get someone confident is probably the biggest hurdle I'll have in getting somebody to that next level. And that I've been doing for quite a while now, for the last couple of years. And I'm going to have my own podcast coming out very soon, where I'll be having guests, and I'll also be talking about just confidence in general. And you'll find me on motivatingradio.com, which is where I'm going to be for my podcast upcoming. I had an initial interview, which is going to air very soon, about welcoming me to Motivating Radio. So that'll be coming soon. So yeah, those are my plans other than voice acting. I almost get as much satisfaction out of seeing that person get to that next level as I do voice acting and getting somebody a great voiceover. I mean, just to see the look in people's eyes talking to them on the video after they've gotten their demo reel back, and they're just light up and they're so excited. And then after that, then they get work right away. It's just, my job is done. I mean, I can't get any better. It can't get any better than that for these people, for me. So it's great.
How much of the public speaking do you think it's confidence, and how much is the actual techniques of public speaking?
About the same, probably 25% technical and 75% confidence. There's people that can go in there to talk to anybody anywhere and sell them anything, or just talk about anything and be knowledgeable even though they know nothing about what they're talking about. There's just people that have that about them. They have that quality. They can just go in there and say anything to anybody and not have an issue. I could pretty much go in and talk to anybody about anything if I put my mind to it, really. I don't fear public speaking. I mean, I got up on stage and introduced bands, so if I'm scared of public speaking now, I think it's a little late for that. You know, if I'm yelling and screaming in front of audiences, but again, I know, don't overthink it. I've used that already, which is true, but also, just don't be prepared. And, if you're organized, that takes a lot of the self-doubt out of it. I'm big into organization. I mean, I write stuff down on the old pen and paper. I mean, you don't have to have a spreadsheet to write down your list of importance all the time. And you don't have to overdo it. I mean, having said that, if you use a Google Calendar to organize, great. If you use a notepad on a computer, great. If you use a piece of paper, great. All of the above, great. I would put little Post-it notes on my computer if I need notes. When I was a traffic reporter, there is one person that I filled in for, and she did 7 stations a day, different stations all at the same time, and she'd be bouncing back and forth. I don't remember all these people's names. I didn't do it every day, so I had little Post-it notes all around the screen of the computer that said, okay, host this, the tagline for the traffic is that, and it's this length, and I never messed up a report because I knew what I was doing. And they're like, how do you keep all that together? And they saw these little Post-it notes on the screen. Well, that's it. It's just a piece of paper, but it got me through, and I knew what I was talking about because I had that little help. So organization is one of the biggest keys in being confident with public speaking. Huge. I mean, if you're not organized, the odds are really slim that you're going to have a good performance, I think.
100% with you. And I think you don't have to write your complete speech down, like you said. You just have to write some bullet points and have some ideas. But I think I'm asking you because now there are a lot of, I will exaggerate now, and I will say there are a lot of gurus in the meantime online that are doing this kind of public speaking training. And I always thought that I think it's more of a confidence point than it's a public speaking, because public speaking, for sure, you have techniques to speak in which you influence people and you get their attention and you have hooks and so on. But to be able to do all this, you need the confidence to start, because if you don't have the confidence to start, I think everything else is useless. All the techniques that they teach you are useless. And I like these gurus that are doing this trainings without any proven experience of doing nothing productive in their life. I love them.
Well, that's a TikTok video for you. That's, Instagram, and anybody's an expert on those things. Sometimes, or they'll say something that they make it sound so groundbreaking. Meanwhile, it's been around for 50 years. I have this new recipe for chicken noodle soup. Oh, a new recipe, huh? Chicken and noodles and vegetables. Wow, that's new.
Exactly.
It's not new.
It was there every for a long time, but if you don't know about it, that doesn't mean it's you. Where can people find you, Mike?
You can find me on my website, Mike Paine Show. That's it's all run together. MIKE, normal spelling, PAINE show.card. That's CARRD.co. You'll be able to find me on Motivating Radio. That's all run together.com. And on YouTube, you'll find me if you look up, I'm at Mike Paine 6287. So you'll find me there.
I will link everything below in the show note description, everywhere the podcast will be published. And social media, you said already. Now I have my set of questions that I love to ask at the end. So Mike, what would be that one person that people should see before they die on this planet?
One person?
One place.
Oh, one place?
Versus, I'm sorry.
Well, one place. I guess I would say Greece, because I'm Greek. Maybe, I don't know. I was maybe a Greek island. I'll narrow it down, a Greek island. Just to the amount of relaxing, your mind just floats away and all the cares are gone. Just go to a Greek island and let all the troubles go away.
I'm fascinated about how everyone from the States is recommending places in Europe, and everyone from Europe is taking places from the States. I love it.
Yeah. I would say some stuff here, but more so Greece, because I that's just what I would do.
Chicago is a place that I want to see. I think it's interesting as a city for me. Of course, for you it's daily business, but for me, as someone coming from the outside and seeing all the cliches in the movies, Chicago it's a great place to visit. Tell me your favorite song or band.
Thin Lizzy's my favorite band. There's so many others that are way up there, but Thin Lizzy's my favorite. My favorite song, probably Cold Sweat from Thin Lizzy. I just love that band. You could just tell that they felt every note they played and sang, and I just love that band. I mean, everything about them. There's so many others. All the bands it's funny, all the bands that I kind of grew up listening to and then ended up talking to a lot of them, most of those bands, which is so surreal, but yet cool at the same time. It's like, you grew up listening to Kiss and Black Sabbath and, stuff like that. And then you meet the people and you're like, wow, that's weird, but cool.
That's not weird. That's unbelievable, I have to say. Your favorite movie, Mike?
Favorite movie? I love horror movies, so that's really tough. Probably The Exorcist, maybe, or the first Halloween, the original, not the 50 sequels afterwards. Maybe, the first Exorcist, the original. Probably The Exorcist, because that's just a perfect movie. I mean, horror movie.
That movie kind of destroyed my childhood.
That destroyed a lot of childhoods and adulthoods.
True as well. What about your favorite book, Mike?
Favorite book? I don't know if I could really say I have a favorite book.
Recommend one then. You don't have to be your favorite.
Um, I did read a lot of Stephen King when I was younger, so yeah, I would go with anything, earlier works of Stephen King would be great, I mean, all of them have been made into movies practically now, but yeah.
Cujo?
Cujo, yeah, the book Cujo was good. The movie's okay. The book, I did read Cujo a long, long time ago, but yeah, Cujo was good, actually. I remember that.
I do connect some Cujo with Friends. I don't know if you know the TV series Friends.
Yeah.
Where Joey is hiding the book in the freezer because it's too scary for him to finish that till the end.
Yeah. Stephen King, yeah. I mean, I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, and it's like, oh, yeah. I don't read, long form. I read every day, but I read scripts every day, so that's where I learn my stuff. But yeah, I don't read books unless they're audiobooks, and a lot of those are, I can't recommend saying, an exercise book is my favorite book of all time, because that's not really,
True. Do you see the mistakes when you listen to audiobooks? Made by others, I mean.
That's part of doing what I do. My wife and I, she's got a better ear than I do. And you hear these terrible edits on just TV commercials and movies, and even a bad horror movie we watched last night. And he was trying to be all serious, and he said, this will go down in the annals of history, not the annals of history, the annals. It's like, oh no, what? We had to pause it because we were laughing so hard, and we're like, and nobody said anything? They let that go? There was a commercial that ran here in Chicago. This is the third biggest city in the country, I think. And it ran for years. And the place was called ABC Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And it said ABC Pluming, Heating, and Cooling. And he said pluming. And they never changed it for years. How does that happen? Doesn't the company call and go, you said plumbing wrong? I mean, it's an easy word. It's an easy English word that everybody's heard. It's like, what? You don't? Okay. Yeah. So you get a really good ear, and you hear, it's kind of a blessing and a curse, because you hear your mistakes that you make, but then you hear mistakes that everybody else makes.
My father is being was a chef in different kitchens, and he cannot go to restaurants anymore out of the same reason.
Yeah, I can see that. I can actually see that.
Mike, it was a pleasure to know you, to meet you, to get to know you.
It's been so lovely and so much fun, Paul. Thank you so much for having me. I can't express how grateful I am to talk with you just a little bit today. And, someday in the future, maybe we'll have another conversation and I'll tell you some more stories.
For sure, that will happen. And whenever you have something that you feel that it's nice to talk about, just drop me an email. I'm only one email away. And whenever you feel the need to talk again, I'm more than happy. I enjoy to talk with such a kind person. It fills my soul with happiness, and I'm not exaggerating at all.
Well, thank you, and maybe we can turn the roles around, and you could be my guest, and I'll be the host.
Absolutely. You know my email address. I'll be more than happy. More than happy. I love to talk to you, Mike.
Well, that would be great, and you could share with my viewers eventually how to stay positive, and I'll turn the tables on you, and we'll find out what you do and what it takes you to get motivated.
Absolutely.
I think we need to know.
Absolutely. More than happy to do that every time, anytime. Just drop me an email. I will be more than happy to do it.
Awesome. Thank
Mike,
you.
Thank you. Have a nice one. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye.